I cannot stand Mr. Baseball.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
I knew it.
Here we go.
Yeah, I tried to throw a little bit back.
Love that logo, love that jersey, love that color scheme, everything about it. Welcome to episode 73 of the None Other Sports Podcast. This is Home of Sports Talk for the Average Joe. My name is Jason.
I'm David.
And welcome back. Let's give thanks to Dave Locker from the 2216 podcast for joining us last episode. I know he had a lot of fun. He was posting about the show. And I know he was spreading the word of our show on his show. And I do believe Dave will be on here quite frequently if he gets his way.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. It was fun.
Love Dave. Well,
it was fun.
A little inside baseball. We all hung out last Saturday night, which we'll get into. We'll get into in the second half a little further. But
yeah.
So before we get going here, if you're friends with me on Facebook, and why aren't you? Because you probably are, because you're listening to this podcast. You probably saw that my wife and I went to see the Phils on our 14th wedding anniversary this past Tuesday. And let me tell you, it was, even with them splitting the doubleheader, it was a really fun day.
Yeah, the pictures you posted of the food look good.
Oh, the food was fantastic.
That's one of the important things. It's the food.
Yeah, well, we took advantage of our seats in the, it is now the CP Rankin Club. So there's a corporate sponsor for what was the Diamond Club. We sat in the restaurant in there, and Jamie had a mixed drink. It was a water ice.
A what?
A water ice.
Ah.
And it was dangerous. And also dangerously expensive. I'm not going to say how much it was.
20?
It was... Yeah.
Close to it.
Anyway, it was Bacardi rum, Bacardi coconut, pineapple juice, and grenadine. I took a sip and I'm like, shit, that's good.
Yeah, those are always the best ones though.
I just had Coke Zero the whole day. I got my commemorative cup, which we always talk about. You got to get a commemorative cup. It's an easy, How many times
go to a Bears game?
This one is a Trey Turner one, so it says Philadelphia welcomes Trey Turner. And our seats in the club came with in-seat wait service, because we definitely spoiled ourselves on our anniversary, as you should. And I got free refills on my commemorative cup.
Oh, there you go.
Dude, the money we saved on that alone.
Oh, I could only imagine. Because on average, they're about $10, $12.
$10.
So.
And I had at least 2 refills.
Yeah. $30 in drinks right there. You know, between your first and the 2 frees.
And obviously, I had a cheesesteak. Because you're at a Phillies game. I'm sorry, you got to have a cheesesteak.
I go with the crab fries.
I know you do.
I just like the Chicken Pete's crab fries.
But it was a good time. We had great seats. Like I would sit in those seats.
The view you had, yeah.
And the only thing we don't have a picture of is me high-fiving the Fanatic.
Oh.
Because he would make his way through the club to get to the dugout to do his dugout stances and skits, right? And then he would come back through the club on his way out. So the first time he came through, no one's like we didn't know he was coming through, because where we were sitting, he would have been behind us. So you only saw him in our peripheral going down the steps to get to the dugout. So when he was coming through, I got up and I just gave him a high five as he was walking by.
Gotta love it.
Yeah, we had a good time.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters. What time did you end up getting home?
Oh God, like 1 something.
That's, yeah.
But here's the thing: we were going to probably get home that time anyway because the original game was scheduled for 7 o'clock. So it started a half hour earlier. It wasn't really going to shave off that much time.
Yeah, I was just curious because it's always a late night from Philly. Always a late night.
And I will say one really cool thing that you never see on TV when Kimbrel comes in to close, because they're typically at commercial when he comes in, is the lights go down. So we weren't prepared for this. So the lights go out and we're like, what the fuck just happened? Like, was there a power outage or something? And then you hear Welcome to the Jungle play and add strobe effect on the lights in the stadium.
Nice.
Like, oh, Kimbrel's coming in. Because it was so odd. Like, we weren't prepared, so we didn't know what was going on. But yeah, that's something really cool you don't see on TV. And it adds super cool element to the atmosphere.
Oh, I bet it does. I bet it does.
I want to go back. We had a lot of fun.
Oh, who wouldn't want to? After all that,
we saw Bryce hit a dinger, saw Bohm hit a dinger, saw freaking Schwarber nail 2. I mean, it was.
I was gonna say, you picked the game. There was a good amount of home runs going.
We totally lucked into that doubleheader, and I mean, I couldn't ask for a better situation.
Hey,
that was something my dad and I were talking about. Because when I came in to get the kids on Thursday, the day after the no-hitter, which we'll get into here shortly, my mom goes, "Would you rather have the no-hitter or the doubleheader?" And I said, "The doubleheader," because the chances of both happening are pretty rare. But the chances of having tickets for a single game doubleheader, that's pretty cool. My dad even backed me up. He's like, "No, it's the doubleheader."
Now, it would have been cooler to the doubleheader with the no-hitter.
Well, beggars can't be.
That's hitting the lottery at that point. That's hitting the lottery if that happens.
I got to be honest.
Well, I should say the baseball lottery. Let's put it that way.
All right, let's get into this first half topic here. Following up on last episode, we're going to talk about the trade grades for some of the teams from the MLB Trade Deadline. And let's just get right into it. The Mets had a bit of a sale. And if I was a Mets fan, I probably wouldn't be watching a single game the rest of the season.
But the thing is, though, they got according to CBS Sports, they got a grade A on their trades. Now, unless they're just doing the fire sale, like, hey, they're helping everybody else.
I mean, I didn't look at the CBS grades. I do have the Athletic one up because I'm a subscriber to the Athletic. Yeah, they gave them an A as well, and so yeah, the Mets went into rebuild mode, and they unloaded some high priced talent. But man, if I was a Mets fan, after Steve Cohen bought that team and promised to drop money in that team to win a championship, for what are we, 2-3 years into his regime, and he bought all that talent and they had a fire sale and they're going into rebuild mode, I would be completely disenchanted with the franchise.
Yeah, I mean, looking what
because
they gave up,
you're telling me as a fan that all that money was for nothing. All the promises were for nothing.
Pretty much.
And how great is it for the Astros? Not that I'm an Astros fan, but how great is it for the Astros to have not signed Verlander in the offseason because they didn't want to pay him that contract, only for the Mets to sign him, to trade him to the Astros, and the Mets are on the hook for most of that contract.
I did laugh when I saw that, because we actually talked about Verlander going back to the Astros when Dave was on. Like, what if that would happen? And sure enough, here it is. You know, it happened. And as soon as I heard that, I started laughing.
And what was funny is the stuff we were talking about, there were things we mentioned that ended up happening like that. that night.
Yeah.
Because I remember putting it in the show notes, like, about Scherzer. I put it in the show notes about Scherzer. Like, when we recorded, he had not been traded yet. But by the time it posted, he was already traded. I don't know. I have a lot of sympathy for Mets fans because I know a lot of Mets fans. And they share that same kind of sad sack franchise thing that the Phils got, where, yeah, there's highs, but then there's just crippling lows. And I feel really bad for them because they didn't ask for this. They were sold a bill of goods, and it wasn't delivered upon.
I mean, right now, the Mets are way out of the wild card.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so really, all that money, like you said, all that money spent in, it's now they've gone into a full blown, not just like, okay, we're going to partially rebuild this section. No, it's we need to start from scratch.
I think one of the biggest surprising things from the trade deadline is how many teams that were going to be sellers ended up holding the line and not getting rid of their players that were supposed to be traded away. Because the Cubs were rumored to be getting rid of Stroman, and they were rumored to be getting rid of Bellinger. They both ended up staying. Ohtani was supposedly going to be traded. The Angels held off on that, thinking that they can make a run. It was surprising how this trade deadline played out.
Well, according to the Athletic, the Angels got a D for a grade on their trades.
Well, I think some of it is for a lack of trades as well.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, yeah, but still, it's like you said, even though they got a grade D, that still might have just helped them that they didn't get rid of, like, prematurely got rid of their talent for that push. Because, like you said, they were, rumored for sales, but never did it.
Yeah, and I mean, let's just talk about the Phils. Everyone knows we're Phils fans. Everyone who listens is probably a Phils fan. If they're not, I know some of the people who listen to what their fan affiliations are, and I've even talked to some of them this week about the Mets because they're Mets fans. No hitter notwithstanding, we need to see more of Michael Lorenzen before we truly can say if this was an A or not. I was good with the B before the B grade in the Athletic before the no hitter. No hitters are magical things, but you have to be consistent.
Exactly.
And I want consistency to really truly determine what the grade is.
Because that could have just been coming into Philly as an adrenaline rush, getting his first start in Philly, and he was just on that night. It's just it's just like you said, you got to be consistent. You got to be able to get in there and just consistently perform to that level. Yeah, you'll have a couple of games here and there that are not good, but that's a normal. But when you're inconsistent, that's where it's like, okay, maybe was this a good trade?
I mean, I think getting him and doing the 6-man rotation, giving the pitchers an extra day of rest, that's a great move. I like that move.
Helps them heal, helps them rest.
Was I a little disappointed they didn't get an outfield bat? To some degree I was, but I understand the market wasn't what they expected it to be. They held off because they didn't want to spend the money. And that's okay. They didn't want to not spend the money. They didn't want to spend the prospects for what was available. And you know what? It put pressure on the Big Five. It put pressure on Harper, on Schwarber, on Castellanos, on JT, and on Trey. And since this homestand, Harper's back spasms notwithstanding, they're delivering.
They have been playing well.
That said, I'll own it. There was definitely someone I was kind of hoping they would trade for. and it was from our minor league affiliate in Washington. I was kind of hoping they would trade for Lane Thomas from the Nats. John's going to hear this and just send me a message cursing me out because I called the Nats our minor league affiliate. But it's because there's a lot of former Nats on the team right now. No, I think Lane Thomas has a big ceiling. I think there's a lot of potential in him. He's 27, a 5th-round draft pick in 2014 for the Blue Jays. He's having a really good year. And I think he's someone who could grow with this team and be a contributor on a daily basis. And I was actually interested in seeing him in person when we went on Tuesday because he was someone I was hoping the Phils would have traded for. That's just my personal opinion. There were people who wanted Cody Bellinger. There were people who wanted Tommy Pham. I get it. We all had, as fans, we all had that one player we were hoping they would trade for. But the market wasn't what they expected. They didn't make a move in that regards. That's fine. We made it to the playoffs with these guys last year, minus Trey. I think we're going to make it to the playoffs this year based on the commanding control we have in the wild card at the moment.
Yeah, I was just going to say the wild card is definitely there for Phillies to be in it because last 10, they're 7-3 in their last 10. And that's including tonight's game.
If only they had won some of those games that they had lost early in the season. Because I think they'd be right there on the heels of the Braves.
I mean, the thing is, though, as long as you get into the playoffs, it really doesn't matter where you are as long as you're in. We saw that last year.
Yes, but there's something about going in being the NL East champions than a wild card.
I feel that puts more pressure on you. I say that because in hockey, how many times have you seen President's Trophy winners get knocked out in the first round? Numerous times.
It can happen in any sport on any
day.
Day.
Exactly. So it's like I feel if you are that champion, it's like it's put more pressure on you. It puts more pressure that you are that, so you have to perform. And when you don't, well, it's more of a disappointment because of the success you had into the season. So it's one of those things to where the Phillies are at, I feel it's a good spot. To where there's not going to be a lot of pressure because you're not that division champ. Yes, don't get me wrong, division champ's fantastic. But it kind of not have that pressure going in. That's my thought.
So going through the list of trades, I'm going to go on a limb here. I think the sleeper trade from the trade deadline was Josh Bell from the Guardians to the Marlins. He's not a great fielder or thrower, but his bat is working well for the Marlins. And he has performed well for them thus far since he got traded. He's always been a dangerous batter since his time with the Nats. He was dangerous last year in the playoffs with the Padres. I think this was a smart move by the Marlins. It's an under-the-radar kind of guy. He's kind of a journeyman, but he's a dangerous bat, and I think that was a smart trade on their part.
And the Marlins are half game into the wild card, too, same as the Reds. So that, like you said, may not be the best fielder, but like you said, put him as a DH for batting. There you go.
I mean, him and David Robertson, really smart pickups. I hate saying this because Robertson's my age, but he's a little old in baseball years. But I think he was a good pickup for the Phils last year. He was smart to go to the Mets because the Mets were supposed to be contenders. I'm not hating on the Mets. It's what it is.
Supposed to and are two different things.
Right. And honestly, coming out of the trade deadline and looking at all the teams involved, I gotta say I think my favorites for the AL are the O's. I love how the O's have turned it around. I love how that city is showing up for them. This is the kind of baseball I've been wanting to see out of the Orioles for years. And they're doing it. I mean, it's like the ownership suddenly cares about the team.
I was waiting for it.
Everyone thinks I hate on the O's. I don't hate on the O's.
No, you hate the management.
I want to see the O's do well because I understand the history of the team. Like,
No,
I'm happy these guys are playing well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know you don't hate the team. It's just the management sucks, is what it was.
Bad management all over the place. But you know what? They're playing well in spite of it, and that's great. And they're the top team in one of the toughest divisions in baseball.
Yeah, because right now they're second. They're second overall. The whole MLB, they're second overall, 4 games back of the Braves.
But to be the top team in the AL East is not an easy feat.
No, it's not.
I mean, the worst team in the AL East are the Yankees, and they're over 500. Comparatively, they have the same win percentage as the top team in the AL Central, the Twins. That is how tight that division is. Where they're the worst team in the division could be the top team in a different division.
Hey, whatever works. Whatever works.
I'm really hoping the O's make a good run because that fan base deserves it. That those young players have earned it, and it'd be cool to see someone else get there other than the Astros from the AL.
Yeah. Teams that haven't won it before or haven't been there for a while. Just look at some here real quick. I don't think their last World Series was 83.
Yes, it would be 40 years ago. They beat the Phils.
So it's definitely going to be interesting. I mean, like I said, they're one of the tops right now.
Their last wild card berth was in 2016. Their last AL East division title was in 2014. They have the talent where they could pull it off.
No,
and I would be very happy for that fan base. If they
we'll find out because it's
unless they play the Phils, then fuck them.
Well, yeah, that's like a dead given. So on that note,
dead giveaway.
On that note, I think that'd be the end of the first half.
It would.
We'll be right back.